Dearly beloved, we now have to travel to the UK for AEW's British Spectacular Forbidden Door. In the past, it was filled with a lot of wrestlers from New Japan or CMLL, and it seems like that number shrinks every year. It was mostly AEW wrestlers with some of the semi-regulars that appear throughout the year on Dynamite.
Well, now they all just pop up, so it's not like it's the once a year you get to see these people because they... And also, there's not that many new people anymore. But some of these people are very old. But nevertheless, I think you hit the right tone there with the... It's like a cathedral setting type of thing. They're preaching to the choir is what I'm trying to say. Because I actually watched this thing. The Prime Video doesn't bug me as bad as the Netflix, Brian. I get a little box at the bottom of the screen when I pause it and fast forward it where I can see that I'm skipping shit that I want to skip and I'm not skipping shit that I don't want to skip. So it's handier. But it wasn't bad, the Prime Video. But the show is continuing to preach to the choir, and I'm afraid that the congregation continues to get just burnt out on a lot of stuff. And they had a wonderful house in London, 18,900 whatever, the biggest wrestling crowd in the O2 Arena history. They haven't killed London yet. The big show is still a big show for them over there. Over there, say a prayer, 'cause the talent's over, and we can't get over unless we're over there. They're doing the music hall in Cincinnati in the United States, and they've got 18,000 people in England. But what did they have to do that was any different or even as good as the shit they've been doing over here to lackluster crowds and diminishing response? Because they've burned everything out. And now they opened up Forbidden Door with a great package for their audience because it all concentrated on the legendary and groundbreaking partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL, global stars, action highlights. The average person has no idea who 80% of the people in the action highlights that are called global stars are. The Open didn't build stars, individual stars, on either the roster or this particular event and or rivalries between same or explain them. The focus was on international wrestlers. Do you think that's a good mainstream strategy to try to get anybody involved in your program?
Was that a question for me?
Yes, that's a question for you.
I mean, they're micro-targeting to a Tony Khan type fan. And that's why the fans who seem to like the booking, when the booking seems awful, the fans that seem to like promos sometimes when they just seem unbelievable and fake, there's a certain fan base that really likes his style of TV and nonstop matches where, everything is a long competitive squash match. Even on this show, there were a bunch of matches you knew who was going to win. And you knew there was no reason it needed to go 20 minutes.
TV matches.
But it's all the time now. I almost wonder, would they lose any audience if instead of a 20-minute match that's a long competitive squash match, they put 3 squash matches in that time? And it was just 3 wrestlers coming out there and looking good? But it's not the way they do things. And, there's a lot of reasons to want to root for AEW and want AEW to be able to fight back against WWE, but then you watch what it is, and then you hear Tony talk, and I watched a media scrum afterwards. He's so happy with himself. And he really thinks he is someone who has this down. And unfortunately, there aren't too many people in the wrestling business who think he does. It's micro-targeted to the tape trader who went to message boards and not even all of them.
And the thing, he has tools here. And besides the big house, because London, I mean, it's not Wembley, but still 20,000 fucking people or whatever. He has stars. He has people that are over with the audience, but it's like a jigsaw puzzle that's put together all wrong. And the first match, Edge's entrance, he comes out, he's still over there. I won't sing again. And they cut his music, and the whole crowd sang the last two verses. It's like a star has come out. And Christian came out, and he got a response too. And it's the reunion of Edge and Christian. And then here comes Pip Sabian and
Mama Wayne's
the
breasts.
former. Well, she'll never drown. She's got that going for her. And they've substituted now our old friend Dino Douche, Luchasaurus, who they are insisting on calling Kill Switch, even though all the fans keep chanting Luchasaurus at him because apparently that would disrupt the whole angle. I don't know why. And the fans stood there. The crowd was deflated. This was a TV match for Edge and Christian's reunion. And that to me is, they've got this convoluted deal going on where, will you help me with Nick, who now his foot is broken. So now it's Dino and Pip, and I'll help you with FTR. But geez, oh, Pete, nobody wants to see these guys. And Luchasaurus, they want to see him, but they don't want to see Kill Switch, and they want to see him switch, which apparently they're going to do because this match, again, Edge and Christian return. You can tell 100 stories, but not at the same time. Not only did we get Edge and Christian's reunion, but also they had to put the Lizard's stuff over as a giant. They couldn't just completely, make him secondary, but then they've still got to get over themselves. But then that means Pip gets the shit kicked out of him, but nobody gives a shit when Pip's in the ring. When Pip's in the ring, they're chanting for the Lizard to get back in the ring.
Yeah, the fans may have sang Edge's song, but once the match got going, they were chanting for Luchasaurus the whole time.
Well, yes, because again, they want him to be a babyface. Well, then now, because Christian used to mistreat him, now for some reason, Pip, who's nobody in this thing and has no reason to disrespect Luchasaurus, starts slapping him to tag him and telling him what to do. And finally, the Lizard grabbed Pip and threw him at Edge, but the crowd didn't get it because of the way that they did it. There was there was ideas of good spots in here, but neither Luchasaurus nor Pip is a good bumping worker to take bumps. But as a psychologist, I don't know. And as we've said a million times, Dino's just the shits. He don't get it. And with the heel team not being a good team, the match died until, finally they got into the go home part. And then Edge, the veteran, the biggest star in the thing, back elbowed Pip in the corner and busted his eye open. I'm like, Jesus Christ, they're all fucking crazy now. And then Dino chopped Pip off the apron of the ring and threw him in the ring, but Mama Wayne distracted Christian, and Pip knocked Christian off the apron, and they got more heat on Edge. But then Pip went for a superplex on Edge, and Luchasaurus comes under his own partner and puts him on his shoulders and stands there while Edge comes off the top with a clothesline, a doomsday device. And the announcers were said, well, I wonder if that was on purpose. So fuck, he just picked the guy up and stood there and stock still for the other guy to hit him. How's it? And then that wasn't a turn. I don't know what they're fucking doing here. Oh my God, I've got a cramp. Oh, I've got a cramp in my rib. So, man, this whole thing's a rib and I've got a cramp. Then Dino got out and reached for the tag from Pip and got it after he allowed the guy to held him up to be doomsday deviced. And then Edge finally tagged Christian. And then Christian did some shit. And Edge and Christian double teamed Luchasaurus, and the fans sang something. I could not tell what. And it's still going on now. Bunch of back and forth. And then Christian boosted Pip up in the air, and Edge speared him 1, 2, 3. So it just, the good thing, there was no furniture. That was a good thing. And Edge and Christian didn't do anything crazy to potentially injure themselves. But the interaction between the heels, the heel team, they're not a good team if they're trying to be a good team, and they're not good enough workers to be a good team while trying not to be a good team. If that makes any sense. And they drug it down, and to be honest, Pip and Nick wouldn't have been any better maybe if they'd have made it shorter and they'd have taken more bumps for Edge and Christian, but they probably wouldn't. They'd have probably still made it long and got a bunch of their shit in and their small children. But there you have it.
You know, I'm at the point where I hate Cope's matches and I hate his promos, but I'm still happy for him when he gets to come out there and has actual fans on both sides of the building and he can do his run around and like feel like he used to. I'm already sick of the people singing the music. Maybe I'm a cranky guy. I don't know. Everyone sings everything. But when they turn the music off and intentionally give it a long gap so people can keep singing, and then they film the fans, and there are fans who have like their hands in the air looking up. Like it's Christian rock or something. Like they're really into like, yeah, like as they're singing it. Enough of this, because that's the problem. It's going to be like Judas. They're going to milk this every single week, where a minute of TV time is going to be taken up by fans singing at us.
Well, in this case, it's better than Jericho singing at us.
I still can't get over the idea that Nick Wayne's not there and his mom flew across the country. I thought the whole idea she was there was because her son was hired. Who knows?
Well, yeah, because, he's home laid up with a broken foot. I mean, she's going to miss, 3 or 4 breastfeeding sessions.
All right, well, there's that. What do you think of, any other closing thoughts on the reunion of Edge and Christian? Obviously, we'll talk about the tag title situation later. There's a show coming up in Toronto. If there was ever a spot to have 2 Toronto guys win a tag titles. Any other thoughts on these 2 guys reuniting?
Well, but the thing is, they ain't going to win the tag titles because FTR aren't the tag team champions. Spoiler alert. And their whole reason d'etre, as they say, is to now fight FTR, right, for stabbing Edge in the back. So Edge and Christian against FTR is going to be a better match. But the tag, oh, fucking hell. We'll get to the tag team title. Because we got to do the TNT title first. Brian, did you get a little glance at Kyle Felcher against Takahashi?
I did. I also saw Kyle Fletcher I can't even say his name. I also saw Kyle Fletcher at the media scrum afterwards in a suit, as well-spoken and behaved a wrestling ambassador as I've ever seen in one of these media scrums. I had to remind myself, he's this asshole heel with Don Callis.
Well, but that is part of the problem here, is that this guy has incredible genetics, athleticism, the physique, the size, the look. He's obviously intelligent. He's got some charisma. He's got so much potential. He's never going to learn anything here but the bad habits that he doesn't already know. He knows how to do the moves, but he's not going to get any idea of why to do them and how to put matches together and how to book wrestling from this nonsense he's in the middle of. And he's, again, too inclined to go into the video game mode where you're just doing shit rather than, I mean, he's the next generation Randy Orton, maybe, if he doesn't get brain poisoning here. But they put him, and again, you said he came off great at the press conference. Whatever the case, whether heel or babyface, I don't know how long this match went. I zoned out for a while. But they put this kid, as good as he looks, and he's the TNT champion, and the best entrant from the forbidden door they could come up with. What, Takahashi is like 5'6", pudgy, fat, wearing green tennis shoes and green tights with pink feathers and pink hair. What the is this a guy that's a star in Japan? You're more versed in that than I am. Why the fuck would he he's giving away a foot and a significant amount of athletic ability, and he looks ridiculous.
Yep.
This little pink marshmallow, and he's power bombing Kyle on the floor, and he's kicking the shit out of him. And who is this fucking guy?
He's a longtime regular for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's been wrestling for a long time. Their fans seem to like him. Doesn't do much for me.
Well,
and this was a long squash match, what it should have been.
Yes. Is a long,
you knew
but it wasn't a squash match.
Well, it was. That's the point. It was, because you knew right away that he wasn't winning the TNT title from Kyle Fletcher.
Oh, I know that, but a squash match is if Kyle had just beat the shit out of him. Although, no, this little fucking pink Japanese marshmallow is beating the shit out of Kyle for a good portion of this thing. I mean, at least he can move. He's not like Tanahashi or Ishii or the other fellows that are just encased in goddamn plaster and can't move. He can move around. He looked like shit. And then the finish, spoiler alert, Kyle hits him with two great looking fucking kicks. And the guy went down. He didn't even cover him. He picked him up. And the guy small packaged him. The guy just got his brains kicked out twice. Small package, boom, then he pops up, and then Kyle picks him up and brain busters him 1, 2, 3. And who the fuck comes up with these fucking finishes? But anyway, you match your young star with a lump of shit, and it's all he can do to beat him in 20 minutes. I don't know what more to tell you. Not you, Brian, not the royal you.
I'm being accused of anything. There's reasons why the door was once forbidden. I guess this match may be one of those reasons. Jim, before we move on.
Yes.
Can we just talk real quick about the matches that you didn't mention, that you didn't watch on the pre-show?
I forgot about that.
Again, they're in London. It's a lot of plane tickets, a lot of hotel rooms. It's a big show, but...
And they had to be there for several days, right? Because they did Wednesday there, and then they did the Saturday or whatever the.
They were in Scotland. They've been traveling too. Wasn't it like they're just in London?
Yes. They're just schlepping all over the country over there.
Well, here are the matches that you missed. An 8-man tag team match.
Oh, good.
The Paragon of Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong versus El Desperado and Yuya Uemura. I'm not familiar with him. Excuse me. They defeated Crew of Action Andretti and Leo Rush and the Don Callis family of Hechicero and Josh Alexander with Lance Archer and Rocky Romero at ringside. 12 minutes and 5 seconds.
That is easily from the United States to England. That they just spent $15,000 just in plane tickets for that match.
The next contest, a trios match. The Gates of Agony of Bishop Khan and Toa Leona and Ricochet defeated Jet Speed and Michael Oku with his manager Amira Blair. They're local, so they don't have to be flown in. 9 minutes and 55 seconds. So there's another bunch of people. The next match on the pre-show, an 8-woman tag team match.
Oh, good Lord.
The Triangle of Madness of Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and Tekla, and Megan Bayne, with Penelope Ford, defeated Harley Cameron, Chris Statlander, Queen Aminata, and Willow Nightingale, 11 minutes and 15 seconds. So there's another...
Did you hear, by the way, Aminata is stuck in the can't leave the country. Somebody stole her bag with her passport in it. Now she can't leave for like 3 or 4 more days or something. They said on the internet, so it must be true.
I did not see that, but I kind of thought Drew McIntyre might have started a new trend of extending my UK vacation. But finally, Jim, on the pre-show, the Ops of Shibata, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Samoa Joe defeated the Bullet Club War Dogs of Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney, and Robbie X with Gato. 7 minutes and 20 seconds. They had like 50 people on the pre-show.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about the pre-show. Being an afternoon thing anyway, I tuned in at 1:00 and I was going to praise them because the show was only 4.5 hours long. I realized now the show was 6 hours long. I forgot about the pre-show.
Yeah, you missed also the awkward annual Martha Hart Tony Khan promo in front of a live crowd. That's never seemingly the way it's supposed to go.
Does Martha Hart live in England now?
No, but she's representing the Owen Hart Foundation, and this was I don't think she is. Maybe she is, and I just don't know. I had not.
Why would they fly her? Why would she care to fly all the way from fucking Calgary to England just to come out and do a promo on a pre-show?
What's a good time to go there before the weather turns?
Well, speaking of turning, let's turn back to the event. Brian, I'll ask you, what did you think of the big 4-way women's contest with Alex Windsor versus Bozilla versus Persephone versus Mercedes Moon?
Persephone, a.k.a. Persephone, and doesn't she just look happy to be there?
She does look a little phony.
The big takeaway was, who's Bozilla? Someone that young, that big? Why hasn't WWE been all over that? Get that in the system.
Well, now don't say that.
Excuse me, I'm saying it.
You said it. Why ain't WWE all over that? I'll tell you.
No, but I thought she was impressive, but I wasn't really into the match at all.
Well, I'll have you know, this is where I found out that I got my little goddamn box so that I can fast forward to see what I'm missing. And I fast forwarded about 15 minutes and just decided to stop in and check. And I saw a triple superplex with a German suplex assist of all 4 of them off the fucking top rope. And I fast forwarded another 5 minutes or so.
That move always comes off naturally, doesn't it?
Oh, well, of course. And it's easy to set up instantly with that cooperation. And one of the girls went for a razor's edge on Mercedes, and she turned it into a roll-up 1, 2, 3. And that was with entrances of all these people and all their various tomfoolery. It was probably, about 25 minutes or so of time. Whew. Did I miss any of the fine points?
Like I said, Bozilla was the first time I've seen Bozilla. I've seen the name before. She seemed impressive. For a division, whether it's AEW, WWE, they need women that don't just all look the same. She stands out. I would keep an eye on her.
Well, good. Let her go ahead and stand on out there for a while and see if anybody notices her. The next match on the card came as a surprise to me because apparently they just told us about this on Collision, which we don't watch. Or maybe they didn't tell us about it at all. I don't know. But is Nigel McGuinness still doing commentary on Collision? I would assume so.
I think so. Having a great time on Saturday night.
Oh, quit now. For heaven's sake.
I'm yelling.
They prescribed him those hormones and he speaks much more deeply now. No, I love you, Nigel. I miss you. And Nigel's a great guy. But suddenly, on this pay-per-view, here's the IWGP World Title on the line was Zack Sabre Jr. defending against Nigel McGuinness with Danny Garcia in his corner because Nigel won a four-way to win the title shot, and I guess he beat Danny or whatever the fuck. But so we've already had a TNT title. We're going to have the AEW World title. There's a unified fucking title going on around here. Now, here's the IWGP World title. And again, preaching to the choir. Can you look at Zack Sabre Jr. as any wrestling fan across the United States of America, the width and breadth of this fine land, and tell me that any of them are going to buy this slightly built human Q-tip as the world champion of something important? Yes, he does a wonderful job mimicking the moves of the world of sport greats without any of the fucking grit and fucking look and goddamn grunting and ugliness of the salty old time British motherfuckers that did it. It just looks silly when a guy like Sabre does it. And Nigel is very good at it, but he's had, what are the 3 wrestling matches in the last 14 fucking years? And he's primarily an announcer, but suddenly he wins a match for a world championship of something that's allegedly important. And to train for it, we see Nigel beating Johnny Saint in a chess game out in the park. And I get what they were going for. It's nice to see Johnny Saint, but no, it's like, did Frank Gifford go back to play for the NFL after he'd been doing the announcing for 10 years or so?
No. And then we get to see Marty Jones and, confused at ringside. We get to see the old legends just looking befuddled at what is going on here.
But that's just the thing, is that it's the complete opposite of a garbage furniture match that they usually have. It's so dry you had to watch it in the rain because they're paying tribute again to the British style, but it's Nigel has in his day, in his athletic peak, and he got a lot of his best years jacked out from under him for one reason or another. But he get hit hard and fucking snatch shit, but he's not going to fucking go out there at this time. I felt like he might hurt Sabre if he fell on him the wrong way. This little twink is so slightly built.
When he came out there, when he walked to the ring and he's wearing his jacket, I said, wow, it looks like he's actually put on some size finally. Good. And then he took off his jacket. I realized we're right back to where we started.
But I zoned out for a while because that's the thing. And this slightly amused face that Sabre has when he's supposed to be doing reversals of a guy trying to grab him in wrestling holes irks me also. And then he reversed a sunset flip 1, 2, 3 in about another 20 minutes. I love the idea of doing athletic, technical-oriented matches amongst guys who are the practitioners of these things, but you can't do it in the middle of a 6-hour show with a part-time guy and a skinny nobody, and then they just shake hands and hug. Okay. Blah.
My favorite thing about the match was the post-match, because it looked like they may have been setting up an angle or something, and instead we got like kind of an awkward... Everyone get out of the ring now. We have an announcement to make.
Yeah. Can y'all quit hugging and kissing on each other? We got to talk to Tony's there waiting on you motherfuckers to leave.
Right. Didn't it seem like they were setting something up?
Yes. Well, they were. They were trying to get Tony Schiavone in the ring to talk about the big crowd, and they couldn't get to the fuckers. But you know what? Honest to God, and again, it's a classic. Eddie Graham used it as the example of a great athletic wrestling match that never drew money on top, was Billy Robinson and Tony Charles. But I would love to see them in their early 40s on a show like this to just have the people go out of their minds. And it's like watching, to compare with those guys back then, and even the Johnny Saints of the world, they were a little smooth. I liked the more smash mouth style that some of the salty bastards had. But it's a difference in watching a big time magician in Vegas and a guy doing like the local magic show equivalent of dinner theater. They're doing the same thing, but it just looks so much more real. Anyhow, then suddenly, Brian, without warning, as these things usually do when they happen suddenly, they also happen without warning. Thekla and Queen Waiata got in a fight in the back of the building and fought into the arena. But Julia Hart and Blue Sky came out and jumped the Queen. And then Jamie Hayter came out and ran all the heels off by herself. The end. I get was that they have unfinished business from the pre-show. They said they'd been fighting for quite some time.
It started during that multi-person match or multi-woman match in the pre-show, and Jamie Hayter, we haven't seen her in a little while. Not necessarily wearing the same green to-do that she was wearing last time, but still it seems kind of like a retro, I'm just working hard as a waitress in like 1972 kind of looking gimmick with the hair and everything else. I don't know what they're doing with Jamie Hayter.
She's just doing the best she can. Believe it or not.
They could bring back.
Alrighty.
I was about to say Vic Tayback. They could bring back the Butcher as their Vic Tayback and have him manage her. Just a hardworking woman.
Bring Tayback back. Bring back Tayback.
Bring back Tayback.
Yes. And then Ryback will try to make it all about him. All right. So anyway, the tag team title was on the line, folks, in a 3-way tag team match, and a shocking conclusion that nobody ever could have predicted. FTR versus the Hurt Syndicate versus Bandito and Burger King. I'm sorry, Brody King. I misread my notes. Well, same thing. And there was no MVP with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. The announcers, I was waiting
never
for
said
a while,
his name
and then I
once.
zoned out, but they never mentioned his name. They did immediately at the top of the contest and reiterated it at least a time or two during the match. Well, now the match can end without the champions even being involved. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know, wink's as good as a nod to a blind man, Brian.
They don't have to be involved. They don't even have to be in the room.
Exactly.
They got as far away from this as they
Yes, they get as far away from the scene of the fucking... But so, again, we're wondering why that if and somebody said, well, MVP was never supposed to be there. Why? Why? We'd like to know. And if everything was cordial, and they come up with an excuse for everything else when they say, oh, MVP missed his flight. His flight was hijacked and flown to Cuba. What is something? So we need to keep an eye on this thing here. And even if it's nothing, it looks stupid. They didn't say anything because he's part of the fucking deal.
MVP missed his flight, anything. Just say something. You can't just pretend he was never there to begin with.
So then they ring the bell, and it's immediate 6-way with the other 4 teaming up on Lashley and Benjamin, all on the floor, and the camera's missing shit. And they do that for a couple minutes, and then they just all get up on the ring and start a regular match with only 2 guys in the ring and all the other guys on the apron and taking tags. After the announcers had said, well, there's no tags involved in this match. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's driving me crazy. So then Shelton and Bobby beat up everybody, and the fans are chanting, we hurt people, we hurt people. They've got stars here, and they haven't been able to figure out anything for them to do to in any way make a goddamn contribution to the fucking gate. And then they got heat on Bandito, but FTR wouldn't tag Bandito. They dropped down and refused his tag because they're heels too, trying to get, back in the old days, Brian, in the 4-team elimination matches they used to have, if you refused a tag, it was an automatic disqualification. That's how you could get the fucking combinations you needed to get in. They had no choice. But nevertheless, finally, Bandito tagged Burger King, and there was a big pop. And Shelton tagged Dax, and King made a big comeback on FTR. And then there was a face-off with Lashley and King, and the people roared. And they traded forearms and a couple of tackles. And Lashley spine busted him, and he popped up and leveled Lashley. And then Shelton came in and suplexed everybody and gave Brody 3 Germans. And then somehow Brody King and Cash gave Shelton the Shatter Machine inadvertently together. And then, and Bandito picked up Dax and backflipped him off the top rope onto everybody. But it looked like they hit the floor. He just flipping power slam Dax off the top rope to the floor. I hope they think this shit's worth it. But then suddenly 3 guys in New Japan wrestling hoodies jump the Hurt Syndicate, and they fight off out into the fucking hinterlands. And the match keeps going on. And then we find out that the hoodie guys are Ricochet and his 2 stooges, whatever their fucking names are. Well, but in the meantime, Dax just knocks Brody King over the head with a chair. He gets a 2 count. And then they keep going. And they try to do this fancy finish. And by the way, the Hurt Syndicate, I keep doing that. They fight off with the hoodie guys, and the hoodie guys are back out there. The Hurts just left. You never see them again. As you mentioned, they weren't even there. So Bandito foils FTR when they're going for their superplex splash. And Bandito splashed Dax off the top rope. And right there, he could have covered, but he didn't. He gets up and runs to the far turnbuckle. And Brody King squirms into place on his ass so he can get in the right place. And Bandito runs, and Brody monkey flips Bandito into a 450-degree splash onto Dax that he kind of missed. But he landed there, and he had the leg, and the referee goes down to count 1, 2, and Bandito let go of the leg and started to roll off, and then grabbed him again, got back on him, and the referee counted 1, 2, 3 again.
And the other wrestlers were like diving. They didn't know what to do. They're like mid-dive as all this like fell apart at the end.
And so it was a horrible finish. The Hurt Syndicate are the only stars in this thing, and they just... the Bandito and Brody King couldn't take the simple win that they actually executed. They had to fucking do that and fuck it up at the last minute. And as you said earlier, it'd be great to have Edge and Christian against FTR for the title, but instead we got it on frickin' Frack here, the odd couple. And so the guys that are going to face Edge and Christian next on a big show just got beat. By people not Edge and Christian. Your thoughts?
Tag title change, Hurt Syndicate not even in the room when it happens. That says a lot. The rumors were that they didn't want to put over FTR for whatever reason. We'll see what we can find out about that. The only thing I'll say that could in any way justify getting the belts off them was that it's clear that AEW is going to have a big problem with baby faces right now. Baby faces who can work on top, who are over, who aren't going down with injuries. I don't know if Tony's going to pivot and all of a sudden push Lashley or Shelton like that, but if there was ever a time to, it may be now where Osprey's hurt. Swerve may be hurt. Omega could barely
then,
work.
then why not take advantage of the fact people are already chanting for him and just turn them babyface while they're the champions?
I think they kind of did, maybe in their own way. I'm not even sure.
No, they just, I think they worked out something that Bobby and Shelton weren't insulted by, where they could just not even be around when everything happened.
Well, there it is. New tag team champions, Bro Dito.
See, they needed MJF after all. MJF could have stopped all this.
You know what? That falling apart ended up costing them, but you know what else may have cost the Hurt Syndicate here?
What's that?
You know, travel, jet lag. I don't know what kind of hotel Tony's putting the wrestlers that he's mad at in. A good night's sleep is always important for the average day, let alone an athletic endeavor. And maybe because the Hurt Syndicate didn't have their mattresses from Helix Sleep, let alone their manager, maybe that's why. Well, they really didn't do anything wrong. They got attacked and left the building. They didn't get pinned or anything. They just wanted a good night's sleep, and
they just wanted to go to bed.
Yeah, come on. You know what I'm talking about.
No, we don't. But I'll tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, they would have had an easy time whipping those guys before the other guys came out, the guys in the hoodies that they fought off with. They would have already won the match if they'd had a good night's sleep. But you know how it is. When you're going to a foreign country, there's the time difference, you're zoned out in the international zone, and you got the jet lag and the big swollen cankles. And you can't sleep on those, even in first class these days, those cattle cars of the air that they call commercial airlines. You can't crack back all the way flat and sleeping like you're sleeping in the arms of the angels. Instead, you're in a lumpy recliner type apparatus with no leg room, and you're all cramped up. That's why that the Hurt Syndicate or anybody else that takes those flights, they can't walk straight for months. But if you can't walk straight, it's your own fault because you're not sleeping on a good mattress or flying overseas and across the intercontinental time zones. You just need to call Helix or write to Helix. Actually, go to Helix on the internet, helixsleep.com. That's where you're going to go, because no more are you going to go without a good night's sleep. Brian, you know, if you got night sweats, you got back pain, you got the Jimmy legs, you like to sleep on a firm mattress because of your aches and pains, or a soft one because of your aches and pains, they can help you out with whatever you need, ladies and gentlemen. They can give it to you hard or they can give it to you soft. They can give it to you short or they can give you a real big one. They can give you one that just bounces you around, or they can give you one that just lets you lay there. They can give it to you any way you want it, Helix.
You a great mat. Again, before this goes too far, wherever you tend to go, a great mattress for you, your family. It comes as a whole experience, opening it up, watching it unfurl before your very eyes, and then sleeping on the unfurled mattress to your own personal great delight. A good night's sleep. That's right. Comfort when you sleep.
When you take the cover off, it just starts getting bigger and bigger. Don't have the kids in the room, folks. But
well, no, I wouldn't say that. You can have the kids there. Everyone keep a safe distance. Once again, a great night's sleep. Let's focus on that. Helix Sleep.
Well, and I'll tell you what, right now, again, with the nights, I had the night sweats, Brian, and the tossing and turning and the nightmares and the waking up and seeing the paint clawed off the walls next to the bed and the paint under my fingernails. And people told me I should get medical advice, but instead I just got a brand new Helix mattress and put up wallpaper. And now it's much better. And folks, right now you can save a lot of money because you know what's coming up, Labor Day. That's the day when nobody works. And for the Labor Day sale best of the web offer, the fine folks at Helix, just for you, within the sound of my voice, the listeners of the Cult of Cornette, are offering 27% off site-wide. 27% off for the Labor Day sale best of the web offer. That's from now until September 8th. Don't be left out. 27% off when you go to Helix, Helix, sleep.com/JCE. 27% off when you, boom, tell them that we sent you. HelixSleep.com/JCE. And they're also, they're going to start selling wallpaper, I heard.
No, they're not.
Wallpaper
We're
and
right here at the end. There's no reason for superfluous nonsense here.
well, I'm just saying you can look for that in the future, that if you've clawed all the paint off.
Look forward to a good night's sleep in your future.
In the meantime, Christmas paper can serve sometimes in that capacity.
I don't know what exactly is happening here. Ladies and gentlemen, we love Helix Sleep here in this house. I know they love McCastle Cornette. Get a Helix Sleep. Get a Helix Sleep mattress for yourself.
Nothing seeps out of them.
Jim, one last time.
No seepage. No seepage.
With that professionalism you're known for, one last time, what is that promo code?
Well, I'm going to get my receipt. That's helixsleep.com/JCE.
That's right. And why don't we slash our way back to London like Jack the Ripper would have? Well, that's a bad transition, but let's go back to London for AEW Forbidden Door.
Well, Jack the Ripper would have been an amateur compared to the type of carnage that these AEW wrestlers wreak on people. The big title, one of the big titles was up next, Brian, the unified title. It was unified between, what was it, the Continental title and the Champion title. I can't fucking remember. But has there been a match not for a title yet? Wait, hold on. Besides the pre-show, the first match was Edge and Christian's reunion. They ain't got no belts. But then the girls, the TNT title was on the line. Oh, Kyle, the IWGP World title was the four-way girls title. There was a girls title in that, wasn't there?
TBS, yeah.
Yes. And then the tag title, and then the unified title, Swerve versus Oblada. And the thing that I wrote, right as they were ringing the bell, I wrote, will this guy work for 18,000 people or still lay on his ass? And boy, howdy, he's still on his ass. He just can't do it, can he? Swerve was trying. Swerve was working hard. The fans like him. He had nothing to work with here. It's just Stacy came in. And Brad, do you remember who that I said that I compared? This was months ago when Okada first showed up. Do you remember who I compared his work to? And you scoffed at me.
Oh, geez. I do not know.
You remember me saying it. You remember scoffing, but you don't remember who it was, I bet, don't you?
I remember you saying you think a Japanese Elon Musk. I don't remember a wrestling.
Well, no, that was a different time. I said physique-wise and his work, he reminds me of David Flair.
Oh, you did say that, yeah.
Well, and Stacy came in. This was a year ago I said that, right? Stacy walks in, sits down, watches this two left foot motherfucker for about 30 seconds and said, he reminds me of David Flair. Except David was trying. He was trying to work hard. So it's fascinating in a way watching this guy try not to do anything more than is absolutely necessary and barely that. But it's slow, it's boring, his shit is phony for the most part. He gave Swerve a DDT on the stairs, but when Swerve went over, he kicked the camera guy. Does that mean they're going to get another lawsuit? The fucking cameraman's a dangerous position around there. I zoned out for a while. It seemed like it went forever. There was some choreography, and at one point, Swerve climbed up to the top rope to help Okada drop his own knee on the top turnbuckle. And finally, Okada clotheslined Swerve and beat him 1, 2, 3, clean, fair, right in the middle of the ring. And then he went crazy and put his knee between the stairs and the ring and hammered it with a chair. And goddamn, here came Nana running out because he couldn't be at ringside because that's not allowed in this particular kind of match. And he ran out with a lead pipe. But now, before we go any further, because it does go further, people are going to say, well, Swerve is really hurt, which he is. And he's going to have time off, which he is. So why shouldn't Okada beat him clean? Because he's a fucking heel. Why? What good does it do? Then Okada, besides the fact that he's unimpressive and looks like shit, but the unimpressive guy that looks like shit just beat one of your top baby faces without even cheating. And Swerve's going to come back eventually. So what the fuck? How does it help Okada to get any heat? Well, he just beat him. Then he takes him out there and breaks his fucking leg for no reason. And then, as Nana has run off the perpetrator with the lead pipe, here comes Wardlow. And Wardlow comes out from the crowd and gets in a ring and levels Nana and beats up Nana. Wardlow has just returned after a year and a half or whatever, and he looks like he ate goddamn the city of London. He's bursting the seams on every piece of his clothing, but he beats up Nana. And since Swerve only has one leg, he has to lay there and watch while Wardlow beats up Nana and then beats up security and hugs Don Fallis, who he joined the Fallis family. What the fuck was this? People have been wanting Wardlow back for all this time, but they debut a monster, whether a monster babyface or a monster heel, by beating up a manager after another heel has already done the damage to the top fucking star. What sense does this make? Brian, help me.
Oh, it doesn't. Also, when you're down on baby faces and you have someone who's one of your biggest baby faces for a time return, and they just become another guy in the Callis family, which is just a ramshackle group of people. Just random heels put together. Half of them don't do anything. Lance Archer's like a valet at this point. So yeah, it's questionable. And again, Swerve lost the match. And then for reasons we don't understand, he was attacked brutally. And then they did this angle there.
Well, to cover up, he's going to go have his knee worked on or whatever. But
right.
but
I'm not saying they didn't have to...
Yes, but they concocted no logical reason why that happened after he'd already beat the fucking guy.
And now we have heel Wardlow with Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Lance Archer, Rocky Romero, Trent. Who else is in this fucking group?
Oh, but did you see when Take a Shit came out and stared at Wardlow? And you know, around here, when people stare at other people, that means something.
So what does that mean? They're going to turn Takeshita babyface?
I don't fucking know.
And who wants to see Takeshita versus Wardlow?
Nobody.
Welcome back, Wardlow. I thought it was just me. He looked a lot bigger. You said kind of what I was thinking.
No, and I don't mean bigger as in he's been doing nothing but training and eating tuna. I mean bigger as in he's on the gas and the carbs. He's thicker everywhere. Everything unhealthily looking thick.
And I see that's the problem, I think, too, when he started taking off his jacket and everything and doing the beatdown. I didn't think the beatdown looked good.
Well, no, he could hardly get the jacket off to begin with. His arms are so big, and then he's like somebody shoved an air hose up his ass and just blown him up like a parade float. Anyway, speaking of parade floats, the next match was a girls' match. I don't know really why it just seemed good at the time, that transition. Toni Storm wrestled Athena. Brian, and remember I said that I could fast forward and I'd see a little box where I could skip all the shit that I wanted to skip? This was one of the shits that I wanted to skip. Did I miss anything till I get to the finish?
Probably not. It went a little while, and apparently there are people who really like Athena, but I guess I just don't see what other people see in her.
Well, that's because you can't look down deep, Brian, and see a person's true value. Or you just don't give a shit. One of those things. Well, Billy Starks was going to hit Tony Storm with a chair, but Mina Mellon stopped her and they ran off. And then Tony Storm got a choke and Athena tapped out. Now Tony Storm is a goddamn member of the Gracie family. But now, Brian, I'll have you know it was time for another world title match. This one for the actual world title of the company that's promoting the pay-per-view, which was refreshing. The AEW world title, MJF versus Hangnail Adam Page. And unfortunately, MJF, the challenger in this, when he comes out, he was introduced as the CMLL World Champion. They just had the NJPW World Champion, and they just had the Unified Champion, and they just had the TNT Champion, and now another World Champion is going for another World Champion's World Championship. So anyhow, do they desperately need a legitimately, they need their world champion to be the top star in the company, and right now it's not, and even with Moxley it wasn't, and I'm hard pressed to figure out who the top star is in the company anymore. That I would have said Ospreay needs to be the champion, but now since he's goddamn going to have surgery and be out for who knows how long or to what extent, maybe it's good they didn't, but how long has it been since the world champion in this company was also the top guy on the roster? A while. I can't remember. Did Punk hold this belt at one point, or did he ever get there?
Yeah, no, I think he held it a couple times.
Okay.
Didn't he?
That would be the last time then that both the world champion has been the top star in the company. MJF is good. He needs something to work with. You've always got to do some of the other guys' shit, and Page does the same shit all the time. MJF, his aura has been diminished. His booking has been rotten. He doesn't have the heat he used to have, but he can still think to put some things together that make a little half-ass sense. But he always has to work with another one of these children. And this was back and forth. I can't go blow by blow on this because it got ridiculous. But amongst my observations, Page doesn't fight from underneath well. A babyface that can fight and sell and be an underdog and get sympathy. That's not, he either he fights from underneath and the shit's weak, or he does too much and kills the fucking heat before the comeback, and his timing is off where he's either too quick or too slow. MJF has the facials. He shows personality, has the body language. Page is always scowling boo-boo face, and he does the same shit. He had to do the thing where he knocks MJF out on the floor, takes forever to climb to the top rope, doesn't even look backwards, backflips, and MJF has to stand there like an idiot and catch him. MJF's hammerlock DDT should be a finish because it looks better than most anything anybody does there. I don't even know if he's ever gotten a fucking win on TV with it. At one point, Page tombstones MJF on the floor, doesn't even try to win. He takes time to position the table and pick MJF and deadeye MJF off the apron through the table, then roll him in the ring, cover 1-2, and MJF gets his foot on the ropes. Now it's ridiculous. And, I know MJF knows he's going to get his money from this guy either way, the billionaire, but I'd rather not sit out a year and a half or two with a broken neck because of this idiot wants to do this goddamn hardcore bullshit. Certainly, I would not think that it was MJF's idea. Hey, give me a dead eye through the fucking table. Jesus Christ. And then they continue the match because that couldn't hurt anybody. Paige then gets very little color from two different places from being run into the post or whatever. And then MJF tombstoned him on the broken table. Or did they break a table on the floor? Yeah, no, they
it was already broken when he did the tombstone.
Yeah, they broke it with the dead eye. Then they left the broken one sitting there so they could use it again. They didn't get another table. And then, so that doesn't get the tombstone on the broken table by MJF. Paige gets back in the ring by the count of 10. So MJF pulls the buckle pad off and gets run headfirst into it 5 seconds later and gets a lot of juice. And the fans chant, "You deserve it." But again, he just got run into the fucking... Nothing can beat anyone. And then they tried to do a tombstone reversal that another match had already done earlier tonight, but Paige dropped him anyway. They did a spot actually that got the fans, and it was a good wrestling spot. The multiple cradles. Boom, 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 boom. Multiple cradles over and over. One count, one count, one count, one count. Then the double bridge, then the dead eye. In the ring, 2 count. That got the people. That's wrestling. But you can't be doing that after you've dead-eyed a motherfucker through a fucking table to the floor. And then suddenly you're doing goddamn Les Thornton reversals. And then MJF pulled the diamond ring out and set it on the mat and wanted Paige to hit him with it to get disqualified because he threatened to set Mark Briscoe on fire last week. Brian, as you'll recall, Paige agreed that the belt could change hands on disqualification. You remember that.
Right. He saved the life of Mark Briscoe.
And he also agreed to, MJF said he doesn't have to execute his contract. He still got the contract and all that stuff, but blah, blah, blah.
Correct.
So now he wants Paige to get disqualified. So Paige won't pick up the ring and hit him with it. So he spit on Paige. And Paige wants to hit him. And finally, he just spit back on MJF. So then MJF pushed Paige into the referee and then kicked him in the balls, gave him the heat seeker, covered him 1-2. Paige gets his foot on the ropes. Referee counts 3, but the referee is still down and he didn't see the foot on the ropes. Okay, we've got a disputed decision here. What's going to happen? Mark Briscoe's music plays. Mark Briscoe starts coming down the aisle, but security stops him. He doesn't come to the ring to fucking tell the referee what happened, to restart it. He gets stopped by security, punches a couple of them, and they drag him out. Now we go back to the ring where MJF has just been staring at what Briscoe's doing. Paige's foot is still on the rope. MJF goes to move it, and the referee sees it before he can. Now it's been a minute and a half.
Can I tell you, that referee's been pissing me off. His stuff with MJF is over the top. The fact that he dove
it's
in.
Bad.
I see the leg now 2 minutes after it happened. That's ridiculous.
We're expected to believe Paige was unconscious and immobile for a minute and a half with his leg on a rope. Or if he was awake, then why would he go, hey, referee, look here, my foot's on a rope. God damn it. It would make sense if Briscoe had come out and stooged it off. But they dropped that ball. So then the referee shoves MJF into Paige's clothesline. Paige goes for a buckshot. MJF ducks it and mule kicks Paige in the balls and schoolboys him and gets a 2 count. I'm like, what the fuck? Go home. His head isn't vulnerable. His balls aren't vulnerable. Nothing will beat anybody. And then MJF slid the belt in The referee picked it up and immediately turned his back to hand it out. And MJF hits Page with the contract in the metal case. Cover, 2 count. Jesus, 30 minutes into this thing. MJF pulls out the ring and swings, and the referee catches it. But he doesn't disqualify MJF. He just catches the fist. And then when he gets the ring away, MJF turns around and Page hits MJF with the contract, which the case breaks. There's pages everywhere. Then he hits a dead eye and a buckshot. 1, 2, 3, and the referee's amidst the wreckage of the. Oh my God. It was better than most Adam Page matches, but geez, nothing can beat anybody. Page is just bland as fuck. And their finishes, they're too long and too busy, are their finishes. That's basically my presumption of this.
31 minutes, 40 seconds.
Jesus Christ.
We'll maybe talk a little bit later. Tony had some comments about this contract and the future of people turning in a contract to get a title match during the media scrum. But we'll see what happens next. Obviously, there's unfinished business with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. Obviously, Adam Page.
Is there? Or are they just going to forget about it?
Who knows? And obviously, Adam Page is indestructible, although incredibly boring at the same time. And that's that.
Well, are you ready for the main event, Brian?
Well, how could you not?
Main event of the evening.
Lights out.
Lights out, and boy, I wish I'd have had to watch it in the dark. The 10-man cage match extravaganza with Darby Allin, Tanahashi, Kenny, Ibushi, and Ospreay against the Hardley Boys, Dick the Boozer, Claudio, and Gabe Kidd, with Wheeler Useless and Marina Shafir in the corner. And we already know that Ospreay is his last match for however long, because he's going to have the neck surgery. And so he entered last for the babyfaces with the career video and the hoopla. His girlfriend voiced over the video. And he's a hometown guy, a home country guy. He got a huge reaction. And from that kind of crowd, the Ospreay on the entrance was impressive. They could have had a year of this guy as their champion, but they bungled it from the start. He came in as a heel in the heel group, and then he just asked out, and they let him. And then all this just nonsense that he's been involved in. And now they've lost his services. And of course, being that this is a match where the indie guys can't get out of their own way, they're in a giant cage that surrounds all of ringside as well. But they've got ladders and tables set up around ringside inside the cage already set up. Marks. It's a theme here this week with wrestling. They're all marks. None of them are smart to the goddamn essence of the principle of the business. They're just marks. Want to do fun shit till they need spinal surgery. And they did a comedy entrance in a cage match, a lights out cage match. They do comedy with the Buckaroos not having their music, and then they played it some song that was supposed to be their first ever music. The announcer said, like anybody would know what fucking music these two jabronis used 20 years ago on outlaw shows. What was that music? Do you even remember?
I'm not sure, no.
They're flashes in the pan that got hot for an internet audience, and they've now presumed that they're household names. And their pan flashed out a while back. And then they just start Then a crazy match inside the cage. They're on the floor. They're trading chops. The Moxley's got a kendo stick. Osprey does a dive. Darby does a dive. It's the greatest hits of all the stuff that they do. The Hardley Boys and Kenny and his buddy did their cheerleading. And for some reason, 3 minutes in, they did a spot where Darby and Moxley were handcuffed to each other, but Claudio broke the handcuffs. And then it was never a factor again. You've got heels outsmarting the baby faces, especially Kenny and Idushi. When they would try fancy shit, they'd get outsmarted. So that's psychologically ridiculous. And then Nikki, one of the buckaroos, goes to dump out a sack of thumbtacks, but they were gummy bears. That then Nick acted like he was scared to take a bump in. And Tony Schiavone's over there. Oh, this is wonderful. Shut the fuck up, Tony. It's not my fault you needed the money to have to do this fucking dreck. You're older than I am. You had a fucking background. Just admit it's shit. It's embarrassing. The heels hit people with the ladder and busted the side of Darby's head open, or I think they tore his earring out that he's stupid to wear into the goddamn matches. Because when they powerbombed him into the ladder and he sprung back off of it, he grabbed his ear real quick. It wasn't like a blow that would bust you open like a temple bone. It was like something got caught and ripped out of his ear. So that way later on, Moxley could stick his fork in it. Jesus Christ. Osprey was trying to sell like a wrestler in the middle of this garbage at one point. And he'd get it going, but then they'd stop him and it'd be shits again. Nick bungled up a jump off the top rope. The Hardy Boys or Hardley Boys or Buckaroos or whatever beat up Ibushi. Tanahashi just disappeared, which was a blessing because the poor thing is so crippled he can't walk. Then they beat up Darby and duct taped him to a chair. And that's when Moxley gouged his bloody ear with a fork. I wrote in parentheses, I despise this garbage person, talking about Moxley. And then Claudio slammed Darby while he was taped to the chair. And then they pulled out a barbed wire covered table. But meanwhile, some of the stooges outside the cage had built a 2-story, 4-table double stack. Moxley bladed for the barbed wire. I wrote, this is so fake, stupid, and dangerous. Why get hurt for this trash? Moxley fell into the wire table. People dove. Then everybody stood around lost. It wouldn't end. Oh, that's when Osprey climbed up to the top of the cage and backflipped off onto everybody. Well, he's having surgery already anyway, so what the fuck? And then Kenny and Kid started trading fake forearms so Kenny could make his faces. And a bunch of people did shit over and over. And then, let me see if I can describe this. Moxley climbs out of the cage with the help of Wheeler, but Darby goes up and climbs up and catches Wheeler, and Wheeler takes the bump onto the announce desk off the side of the cage. But then Darby got out of the cage. He climbed all the way out and went back down to the floor and beat Moxley with a kendo stick and laid Moxley on the first level of the tables, but went to the top of the cage so he could jump off. But Gabe Kidd nutted him and Moxley moved, and Kidd and Darby just jumped off together to go through all 4 tables. And Gabe Kidd should be injured from the way it looked like he fell. That wasn't the end. Then there was more choreography at 100 miles an hour. And then Kenny and Osprey hit Maddie with a good-looking double team. And like that could have been it. But then time stood still while Tanahashi drug his crippled ass to the top rope and took forever to balance and stood up tentatively and halfway splashed and halfway just fell forward and splashed him 1, 2, 3. They gave Tanahashi they can't even get their own goddamn talent over on some of their biggest shows because they have to insert these crippled motherfuckers.
It was like, you ever see footage of old man Mil Mascaras doing his high cross body and it's just like he falls off the rope? And he's about half his age.
So the baby faces won. Then everybody leaves Osprey in the ring to get his ovation.
Fans seem happy. Fans are happy to give Osprey his moment, knowing he'll be gone for a while.
They're singing for him. They're playing the music. And then wait, what? I wrote, seriously, more heat? I heard some of the cable systems, they milked it long enough. Some of them went off the air. I don't know what percentage, but some went off the air before they got to this. But the heels got on Osprey and locked him inside the cage. Now the rest of the baby faces are out of the cage. They've locked him inside the cage. And they beat the shit out of him with the repeated DDTs. And Marina Schaefer climbs the cage to get in. She's in. All the baby faces are standing out there, plus Joe and Hobbs and Shapoopy. And Moxley puts the chair around Osprey's neck and stomps it. Everybody, a minute ago, even the girls were climbing the cage willy-nilly. Now nobody can climb the cage. They're screaming, raise the cage, raise the cage. We just literally saw 4 or 5 people climb up and over and out of the cage. Why can't they go the other way?
Why can't it just be raised?
Well, when it finally was
Ole Anderson controlling the remote control for the cage? Like
no, the Black Scorpion who had it. But no, when they did raise the cage, the heels just scurried away and the baby faces didn't do anything. This sort of, maybe they all trained at Knox Pro Wrestling because they didn't do shit to help their friend. Because now Osprey's going to be out. Swerve's going to be out. Other people are out. Maybe MVP's out. Maybe the Hurt business is out. Maybe they're out of business. Maybe they got disgusted and just said, fuck it, we're leaving.
Even if Osprey's hurt and going to be out for a while, this seemed like a bad way to end the show for the people there. It took the heart out of the room, it seemed like.
Yes, because you can't blame the heels. He's already told people he's going to have neck surgery. He said, I'm going under the scalpel after this, and I don't know if I'll be the same, but I'm going to leave it all in the ring. So he should have goddamn got the pin and got his hand raised in front of his home audience and got the thank you. That's what they came to do. You don't need to have somebody attack the guy and drop him on his head 15 times when they've already said he's got a hurt neck. How much more hurt does it have to be? Everything doesn't. That's Tony, because of Tony's condition, whatever that may be. Whenever they have the ability to scan brains and find out exactly what causes things, Tony thinks there has to be some storyline reason for shit, even when people already know the real story. And the only reason there was ever a storyline reason to cover for injuries is if people didn't know the real goddamn story. Oh shit, I got to have surgery. It's just popped up. Let's do an angle. Give me a pile driver. Not, oh God, I've got to have surgery. I'm telling the world I'm going to have surgery. And then the heel comes out and gives me a pile driver. The fuck? I've got a cramp again.
Well, Jim, that was AEW Forbidden Door 2025. They'll be returning to Wembley Stadium next year to build upon the amazing groundswell support they've received from the London fans. But Jim, perhaps you're a fan of good professional wrestling, angles that aren't insulting, promos that are good and feel natural, guys who can work without going to a yay boo spot at the end of their match. I'm so sick of that. Perhaps you just want to sue.
Oh, well, perhaps if you do want to sue, then I know for you the right person that will do the job that you need him to do. And that is this man. Play the music.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. He'll sue the rest.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The law office of Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE, is going to be knocking on the door of whoever has perpetrated the sin against you, whether it be unlawful termination, irresponsible negligence. As a matter of fact, speaking of irresponsible negligence, I know that the wrestling community, even all the way out there in California, they got to know about the legend of Stephen P. New. You think Stephen P. New is going to be driving Rikishi's Cadillac next year? Maybe just a thought. Nevertheless, that's who you need to go to, folks. If somebody wrongs you, make it right with Stephen P. New, newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE. More updates on Stephen P. New's legal wrangling in a variety of cases involving us that you folks know about in the weeks to come.
That's right. Get even with Stephen, newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE.